Hey, good evening. I'm wearing my, stellar blue, tuxie thing. I don't know what you call it. It's been a really long day. And I'm really sorry if you tried to message me on Twitter today. There is no way that I'm going to be able to get back to you anytime soon. But I will do my very best. And I wanted to recap the Twitter summary and kind of just condense it for you and let you know what's going on. And the first thing I'm going to do for this feed is I'm going to say that I regret being too timid in my tweets today, because when I started tweeting out today, I was frightened about something that happened to me when I first announced that I was going to run for Congress in the state of Nevada, what I now know is one of the most corrupt states in the nation. Someone from the office of Senator Harry Reid, who was supporting another candidate, and you can look up for yourself who they're supporting, sat me down and said to me, "You shouldn't run for office. Everyone has dirt. We will find your dirt. You will lose so big, and you will be so embarrassed." And as I'm sitting here sharing the information from what I now know, I'm sitting tweeting, trying to get this information out, and those words are ringing through my head. And what I'm realizing is that I allowed myself to get afraid of those words. And, that's the democracy that we live in. And so I guess for those of you, you can see some of the Correct the Record trolls out, and obviously I pissed off some of the Envy Dems people because I saw 30 accounts that got created today, specifically from people who obviously have some inside information at Envy Dems, who were already sort of, they were creating accounts to attack me at my job and accounts to, correct to quote unquote correct the facts. And I'm thinking, you can't cast me as a crazy fanatic fringe person and then expend your resources to try to dispel what I'm trying to say when the world is watching. Those two things don't make sense. So let's get into the details, and I'm going to hold back a little bit more, or I'm going to go a little bit deeper about what happened, and I'm going to summarize, because I know that if you read the tweets, it had to be hard to follow along. So today was a history lesson, and it started in 2008 when Hillary Clinton was first anointed the next president of the United States. But she made a fatal mistake. The fatal mistake was called the millennials. The millennials, in combination with an excellent and well-prepared OFA campaign, outpaced and outsmarted Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton and her team thought that they could do what they always did, was just be Hillary Clinton and be supported by Bill Clinton and just stand out there and win the election. But a smart OFA team outdid Hillary Clinton, and they used social media and they used something called micro-targeting to get in front of voters and out of the Democratic machine. And Hillary Clinton lost. But the most humiliating loss that Hillary Clinton suffered was in 2008 in Nevada. And for those of you that don't remember, Hillary Clinton sued and tried to stop the at-large caucus sites. She ultimately won the state of Nevada in the caucus, but she was outmaneuvered by Team Obama on the ground. And she learned a very valuable lesson. Because as her campaign unwound in 2008, after many humiliations, but specifically the humiliation of the Nevada caucus, her now campaign manager, Robbie Mook, learned that the secret to stealing elections is in big data. And that set in place a plan that I believe helped to get Hillary Clinton where she is today. We all know by now that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was placed as the chair of the Democratic Party, the DNC, and that she replaced who? That's right, Tim Kaine. She replaced Hillary Clinton's current vice presidential running mate, whatever you want to say, right? But here's what happened. You see, in 2008, the Democratic Party didn't have access to massive amounts of voter data. And they were outpaced by the Obama team because they got their own data. They were awesome and cool, right? People wanted to vote for Obama, and so they signed up for his website and his Twitter feed, and that allowed the team to go out and ultimately beat Clinton. So in order to start putting that in place, I believe that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, using her official position at the DNC, started to build the national network with tools from state and local voter files. That all got brought together by a tool called NGP Van. The latest WikiLeaks shows that NGP Van had a software tool called Vote Builder that was capable of overwriting voter data. That voter data could do things like take someone off the voter list, register someone as an inactive voter, and say when 100,000 voters in the state of New York were magically dropped from the voter rolls, and everybody wondered why. So let's get into the leaks. Let's talk about it today. So we talked about the history lesson from NV Dems. We started to talk about NGP Van. We started to talk about how that all came to be, right? We talked about how Hillary Clinton was embarrassed by President Obama and a smart data team, and how in order to become elected, Clinton knew that she had to have big data. How do you get big data? You steal it. You steal it from the very states that you're running for these campaigns in. And how do I know this? I know this because I ran for Congress. And I know that the data that's in the state voter file is absolute garbage. The people who are handling the data that I got from the state of Nevada told me this is useless data and it's garbage. Now, why would garbage data be good for you? It's great for you if you want to steal an election. So the difference in the disparity between state voter data and NGP Van is astonishing. How astonishing is it? Well, as a congressional candidate, I can get state voter files for free. All I have to do is send an email to the Nevada Secretary of State. But if I wanted one fraction of that same voter file from the state party, which, by the way, is collected by NGP Van, how much do you think I had to pay for it? That's right. I would have had to pay a ton of money, specifically $15,000, for something I could have gotten for free from the state of Nevada. Now, what that tells you right there is that the Democratic Party is using a tool which doesn't sync up accurately with what's in the state voter file. So how do you use that? How do you use that data? Well, let's talk about it a little bit. So we talked about how Clinton was humiliated in 2008. We talked about how she beefed up Robbie Mook, right? Robbie Mook's now her campaign manager. We talked about NGP Van. Well, what I now know from the state of Nevada is this. NGP Van went on a vicious campaign to get into every state party. And I know that from Nevada because in Nevada, they did some pretty wicked stuff. Some parts of Nevada were using something called Nation Builder. I used Nation Builder in my congressional campaign, and it is by far a superior product. Nation Builder is the superior campaign platform. But NGP Van is housed with the Democrats. Now, why would the Democrats want to go with NGP Van? Two reasons. We'll talk about the big one later. But the first one is NGP Van lets the Democrats sell your voter data. So the bigger the network that's created by NGP Van, the more money that NGP Van makes, and the more money that the Democratic Party makes, and the more accurate data they have on you. So what can they do with the data from something like NGP Van? Well, they can track you right down to your house. They can tell exactly who you're going to vote for. And how do they do that? Because when you sign up to vote or you sign up to go to a rally, you sign up with your social media accounts or you tweet something about Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, it tracks it all. And so they have, with a great degree of accuracy, a very good idea who you're going to vote for. So how did they use that? Well, it's simple. Now, many of us, and this is where I feel really, really bad, because I couldn't see it at the time. But you go back to December, you go back to January, and Clinton started losing to Bernie Sanders. So Robbie Mook's in New York sitting and talking to campaign donors, and they're saying, hey, if you don't win Nevada, we're done. We're out. We're out of this thing. Oh, and by the way, internal polling, which I posted on Twitter today, shows that 70% of new voters in Nevada were registering to vote for Bernie Sanders. So the data on the ground tells you that Clinton was going to lose Nevada, a state which she was ahead in 30 points only 2 months prior. And that was proven because she lost in primaries leading up to Nevada. So this firewall, the firewall called Nevada, was no longer. So how do you fix that? It's simple. You go back to the data. You go back to the tools that you get from NGP Van, and you create a system where you can cheat in the primary. I posted on Twitter exactly how they did that. They used the data to use the same at-large caucus sites that Hillary Clinton sued to destroy in 2008, to flood the caucus sites with casino workers and members of the Culinary Union who didn't register to vote in the caucus. And you can get away with that when the data in the state file is that much worse than the data in something like NGB. And you can do that when you're colluding with the state party, because all they have to do is look the other way. When 30 or 40 or 100 people go into a room to vote in the caucus sites, which you know because of the data, you need to win. But how do you get away with it? Well, you run a caucus by a party in your state who's responsible for counting the votes. Look on my Twitter. I showed you messages from people at the sites, people who said something's not right here, who said we'll take care of it later. I showed you a message from a member of the Democratic Party who told you this. They were cheating. They weren't counting the votes. People said, we want to verify the count. And they said, we'll count it later. Put it in a box. And then perhaps most damning, a message from a member of the Democratic Party in Nevada who said, and I quote, they announced the results of the Nevada caucus before they ever counted the caucus votes. That, my friends, is how Hillary Clinton stole the election. And it happened in multiple states. It happened all across the country, but had it not happened in the state of Nevada, Bernie Sanders would be your nominee. And everything that you now know about the conventions that happened later, about the convention in May, the chairs that were thrown or never thrown, it was all a cover-up. It was all a little game. The data is on my Twitter. You can see the text messages. You can see the links. You can see the internal polling that shows 70% of new voters in Nevada were going to vote for Sanders. In a turnout, by the way, which was lower than the previous one. I want you guys to have a good night. I want to try to get back to you if I can, but it's been a long day. And as scary as sitting down with someone from Senator Reid's office who told me, hey, don't run for office. Everybody has secrets. We'll find your secrets and we'll destroy you. I have to look at what future I'm leaving for my children, who, by the way, won't be able to afford to go to college, who will be saddled with the debt and the mistakes of generations prior to me, and who have to go and maybe one day think like something as simple as, hey, I'm going to go vote for the person I want to vote for, and that vote is actually going to matter. That's why I'm speaking out. That's why I'm not afraid to stand up to this party, and that's why I'm fully aware and ready to accept the consequences of the information that I've leaked about this party. And I've got one more thing for you. There's a lot more, and it's coming. Have a good night.